introduction at the beginning. All right, from the studios in Fairfax City, we are very grateful that Uli Jon Roth accepted the invitation to our show. Uli, welcome to my humble podcast, my friend.
Yes, thank you for having me.
No problem. Uli, let's go back to the beginning of your life, but people don't know you. Were you born like in a musical family? How old were you when you perhaps your parent pushing you, hey, you gotta take piano lesson, guitar lesson, that sort
I
of thing?
wish. I wish. I was born into an artistic family.
Yeah.
My father was a multi-talented artist. He wrote novels, poetry. He was painting, skilled draftsman, photographer, and he taught me many things, but he was also very musical. He had a really nice tenor voice. One day I bought a violin when I already played the guitar, and I couldn't do the vibrato. And he took it, he immediately was able to do it, which is quite difficult. And I know why, because his brother, my uncle, once studied to become a violin concert violinist. Then he became a lawyer.
I got it.
Yeah, but so there was some musical blood there, but mainly artistic, I think.
I got it. In high school, when you were, I don't know, 14, 15, were you in any bands at the time?
Yeah. I started in bands since I was 13. My
Yeah.
first band was called Blue Infinity, and we played our first show when I was 13 in 1968.
My
So
God, man.
the
Yeah.
last surviving dinosaurs who actually performed in the 60s, and who are still doing it. Yeah.
No, I got it. Good for you, man. How did you end up meeting Rudolf Schenker to begin with before joining Scorpion?
I met Rudolf, I think in 1969. The Scorpions were then mainly a cover band, and their first guitar player, his name was also Uli, just like mine.
Yeah.
I saw them in a little somewhere in Hanover, and I spoke to Rudolf because I was already kind of an established guitar player in Hanover at that time. And yeah, but we didn't speak much. We just exchanged a few pleasantries, and that's that. And then there was Michael Schenker, of course. He was also very present. We had the same rehearsal rooms. So we were aware of each other, and I wouldn't say there was a friendship, but we were always very friendly, and we were thinking about doing something together, even at that early age. Yeah, I remember that.
I got you. Of course, you became famous for your work with the hard rock band Scorpion, and which is one of the earliest contribution to a neoclassical metal genre. At the time, I don't know if metal was defined. I don't know. I have no idea when the term metal band became popular.
Yeah,
But
that was much later. When I
much
was
later,
in the
right?
band, nobody
Yeah,
spoke about metal.
yeah,
If there was a classification, it was called melodic hard rock. That
yeah.
was pretty much what they called it back then. But no metal. I mean, metal came later. And I personally never thought Scorpions were a metal band, even in their whole heyday, although they had distorted guitars. But I always thought metal is something actually different. Even when I spoke with Bruce Dickinson, I said, well, you're not really metal. And he says, yeah, I know. People think it's heavy metal. It's
That's
more
right.
rock. We always think metal is like more, dare I say, more one-dimensional. Hard
Yeah,
rock has more dynamics,
correct.
and
Yeah,
I personally think a little bit more depth to the sound. Metal is like basically everything goes to 120 all the time.
got it. Yeah.
For me, sometimes it's a little bit too much. Yeah.
I got it. Do you remember how you guys picked the name Scorpions to begin with? Or
No, because I wasn't around. Rudolf was the founding member,
correct,
and he
yeah,
was always the engine, the motor behind the Scorpions. He started the Scorpions in 1965, would you believe it, in Hanover, probably doing rhythm and blues covers, you know. At that time, I was maybe 11 years old or something like that. I certainly was not aware of the Scorpions. But that's how it started, and I don't know why he picked that name, you know.
I got it. No, I understand. Of course, you guys released 4 studio albums, right? When you were with the band, of course,
Yeah, we did
Fly to
five
the
albums.
Rainbow, In Trance, Virgin Killer, Taken by Force, Talkie Tapes, right? That live one. It, man, I have listened to a lot of old stuff for the Scorpion. And it's great, great music to me. I'm not a musician, so from your point of view, is anyone in particular when you revisit the Scorpion in live gigs, anyone in particular that you feel more comfortable, you go after more, and so forth?
No, well, you mean with the songs?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any particular
Yeah, well,
album that
you
is
know,
more appealing to you?
every one of these five albums had certain highlights and songs that are very suitable to be played live, and that's what we're doing. In fact, on the upcoming tour, the second half of my show is devoted to 50 years of In Trance and 50 years of Virgin Killer, because that's exactly the anniversary, you know. These albums were recorded in 1975 and 1976. So that
Correct.
was 50 years ago.
Like
And we're playing like a best of these
the best of, yeah.
as an homage to say. In the second half of our show, the first half is completely different. We're actually literally playing 2 shows every night, which are very different to the same audience.
Yeah.
The first half is called Pictures of Destiny, and this is more devoted to my more recent music, a lot of which I have not performed in America. We
I
performed it
see.
recently in Tokyo and Japan on the Japanese tour, and that was very successful. The audience did love it, which made me very happy because I was not so sure that it would work, but it did work, and
Yes.
that's what we're bringing to America in the first half. The Pictures of Destiny is a concept where I have some symphonic rock pieces
Yeah.
with band and orchestra, and live we will have string players, but not like a real orchestra.
Right.
And then my oil paintings are basically complementing the picture. So we have a 360-degree kind of thing.
Wow.
Music and visuals all speaking the same language.
Mm.
And yeah, I really enjoyed doing that. I've never really done it this way, and it took me many years to get to this point, you know. And now I'm very glad that yeah, we were able to achieve that in Japan, and I'm bringing it to America
To
now.
America, yeah. Have you been, are you rehearsing at this moment? Are you coming with a band, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, coming with the band. Yeah, yeah. We're rehearsing in Long Beach. When at the end of the month, I'm going to be in Long Beach, California for 3 days. We're
3 days,
doing
correct.
Sky Academy, which is a teaching kind of thing that I tend to do, which is geared to help musicians find their own next level. Not so much concentrating on technique, but concentrating on um, our ourselves, our mind, and learning how to overcome certain obstacles and blockages to become better performers, better musicians, and more inspired artists. because inspiration is the most important thing. But a lot of people find it very difficult to find it and connect with it, and that's really a big thing for Sky Academy. That's what we're aiming for, those kind of things, which most other people don't teach. So Sky Academy is quite unique in this approach.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And then the tour starts in California
Yes,
right afterwards.
exactly. Yeah. Do you still get nervous before every show?
I've never really gotten nervous, not even for the first time. I always feel very comfortable, unless if I know that there are a lot of technical problems like broken amplifiers or this not working, or the band doesn't know the music well and maybe
That
we're
sort of thing.
all
Yeah.
under-prepared, then I might get a little nervous. But usually, as soon as you start playing, that is forgotten. But on a normal show, no, I'm not nervous. Even if you put me in front of 80,000 people or so, I just play, and the music is what I do, and that's what I feel at home with. So
Good. Good. You obviously you are very, very famous. You have done very well. You have played with the best of the best. What's the motivation for you to keep on going, to keep on touring? You could stay home and relax and hang out, but you are still going, man.
It is part of my life. I love being creative more so than ever. I love creating new music. I love creating new paintings, writing books, all that. But I also really like interfacing with the public, because it's no good just doing all this for yourself. I want to share it with others.
Sure.
And there's no better way than sharing it when you're on stage or touring. Touring is not just on stage. You meet people at the meet and greets and whatever. It's a whole lifestyle. And most of the time, I'm really enjoying it. Sometimes it gets a bit much when it's too long. Like
Right.
now, I've been away from home for a long time, and I was getting a little homesick for my cats and my family and everything. And so that happens too. But most of
Absolutely.
the time, I'm a happy camper,
Okay,
and I
good for you.
still have the energy to do it. That's the important thing. Is I will keep going as long as God permits me. As long as I stay healthy,
Yeah.
and that's something you never know. I have a feeling that I can still keep going for quite a long time.
Good,
You'll see.
good for you. Of course, after Scorpion, you end up forming your own band, and you call it Electric Sun, where you end up releasing what four albums: so Earthquake, Firewind, Beyond the Astral Sky, and The Electric
Three,
Sun Years. Yeah,
yeah,
of
well,
course, three albums on the DVD. Exactly right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. What was, in general, for people that don't know, what was the main motivation for you kind of leaving Scorpion and then form
it was actually
your own?
quite easy. The motivation was purely musical.
Right?
In 1977, the year when I decided to leave the band, I started writing a lot of stuff that I had never written before. I wrote Sails of Sharon for the Scorpions, but at the same time, I wrote a piece called Earthquake
Yeah.
or other things. And a lot of the stuff that I was writing was completely not suited for the framework of the Scorpions. And I knew
Mhm.
it. So I didn't even bring it to the table. But I wanted these pieces to be produced and recorded. And it became such a strong feeling that I had to leave, and I left in friendship, and there was no animosity. It was a purely artistic decision, and it was the only one I could make at the time. Some people said, "Why don't you stay and you can do solo albums and do both?" My manager said that, but actually nowadays I would be able to do that because I'm much faster now creatively. But back then, I needed all my energy to do Electric Sun, and I just wanted to explore what it's like to be your own producer and completely in charge of everything, you know. It was a very important time in my life, and it was a very important lessons, and it was a road I needed to travel.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. Sometimes you are limited about what you can do, what music you can bring to the band.
Yeah.
It also, when you are in a band of 5, 6 people, whatever, it's like being married to 5 people at the same time, and it's hard
Yeah,
because
with
everyone
us,
needs to agree the
it
direction.
wasn't quite like that with us. You know,
I
we
see.
were a solid center. It was
Yeah,
Rudolf, Klaus, myself. Then there was Francis. We had various drummers, but it didn't feel like claustrophobic, and it didn't feel like a marriage. We were friends with some people. With some, you were closer than others. Yeah, I was always very close with Rudolf,
sure.
still to this day, you know. And it's just a mentality. But I also really got on very well with Klaus, and we all respected each other. We didn't fight, we didn't argue. We had maybe occasionally different opinions about a certain song or whatever, but it was never acrimonious, and we were an extremely peaceful band. 5 years without a single argument, I remember. Not many people, not many bands have that kind of track record.
Yeah,
And I always think that's one of the reasons also why the Scorpions were successful. There was a lot of emotional intelligence in the band, and there was no infighting. It was peaceful, and we never did what other bands do, saying, "This is my song, this is your song, and I want my song." We never did that. We always agreed so easily. There were a couple of songs when I said, "Okay, I don't like the song," but that was just purely artistic, but it wasn't because it was not my song, you know.
yeah.
But no, I remember all that very, very fondly. And I think it was quite special that the band was that way.
That's great. Thank you very much. Also, you end up composing 4 symphonies, 2 concertos at the time, and of course, performing with symphony orchestra throughout Europe. And that's great. How you managed to do that? In general, how you managed to do like a rock combined with, symphony and have your own version or your own taste for doing
It
that?
started quite early, you know. When I learned the guitar, I started out with the electric guitar, but very soon afterwards, within 1 or 2 years, I started switching to the classical guitar, and I started playing all the classical stuff. Then I learned the piano and the violin, and I always loved the classical music, probably more than the rock music. I just ended up in the rock music, but my mind was always more that of a classical composer, I think. And so it was very natural for me to want to marry those two worlds. And eventually that became a reality in the early 90s. I had my first big orchestra show, was nigh on almost 100 people on stage, a 3 hour show with a lot of it was my own music, which I wrote for this, including my first symphony, the Europe Symphony. And it was a big success, and it gave me a really good record deal. So that was a beginning since in the early 90s. And ever since then, I've had one foot in that camp, in the classical camp, but I'm also still doing rock concerts, particularly on festivals, etc. You know, and I'm enjoying both. But my favorite thing is when they both come together, and when it's
Absolutely. Yeah.
organic match between the two. You know, which is not such an easy thing to achieve. And it took me actually quite a while before I was really happy with it all. You know, it's not easy to find the right sound of a guitar to match a symphony orchestra. In fact, it was a big struggle, I remember. It took me years to really find the right approach and the right sound.
Gotcha. I understand. Of course, you started as admiring the blues, right? At the time, Eric Clapton, Cream, before you,
Absolutely, my guitar started
yeah,
with that. Yes,
yeah,
Eric
before
Clapton.
you kind of get a hold of Jimi Hendrix style and then
Yeah,
admire him, and that was a
that
big
was a little
influence
bit
at the time.
later, but yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. When you're doing your solo tour, you bring any of the blues as well along, or is the blues
Oh,
side you
I have
can leave
not
it on the
played
back?
the blues in many years. I
Yeah,
think I had a good feeling for it when I was younger,
yeah,
but then I kind of moved away from it simply also because there were people like B.B. King who were doing it like so perfectly, and that's their life. Eric Clapton, of course, is a great example. He brought the blues to the electric guitar in the Western way. He put an English touch onto it, and it was just unbelievably touching and magnificent what he did with Cream and afterwards. And he can still do it if he wants to. But my world went more into away from the pentatonic blues into the world of the classical. You know, there are a lot of people who do the blues and who do it very, very well. And I just felt I wanted to be in a different field. And that's it, you know. And the truth is, my heart is not in it anymore. It was when I was 15 years old, and I loved it then. But then I went into a different direction. And Eric Clapton never did. He never left the blues, and it's in his heart, you know. But when I listen to somebody like B.B. King and he plays one note, that's all I need to hear in the blues,
that's
and just perfect, you know. I mean, I don't even want to begin to compete with that. And of course, it's not a competition, anyways, you know.
that's
But in
right.
a way, it is because, of course, you want to be, you know, at the best you can be and at the top of your game, you know. And I felt my strength is more in the highly melodic European tradition. Although I was so inspired by Jimi Hendrix and I stole everything from the man, you know, including the headband.
That's
And
right.
yeah, so, but my heart, when it all comes down, it is in the traditional romantic classical tradition, and that's it, you know. And that's where I see my music when I'm writing something that I really feel is when I'm at my best. That's what it is. So all my symphonies and all my concertos, they have this very romantic, very melodic, very harmonic, you know, journey feeling, a touch of Mahler, you know, even a touch of Wagner here and there. And, you know, and Liszt, Chopin, that's a world I love.
Good for you, man. Yeah, good for you. What memory do you have for the G3 European tour? Of course, playing with Joe
I did too.
Satriani.
I did too. And I have very good memories of both. First of
Yeah,
all, it was great interacting with Joe Satriani. He's such an interesting character. I could never quite figure him out.
yeah,
Uh, but in a good way. I found him slightly mysterious. Um, every night we were, you know, battling it out with the three guitars. Occasionally, when John Petrucci was there, it was a little bit like who can play the fastest run, you know. But it was always great fun, and sometimes it was very inspirational. The first tour we did with Michael Schenker, and I also enjoyed that a lot. We did a European tour that was in '98, and then the second time was actually, I think, 20 years later in 2018.
that's right. Yeah,
Uh, um, so I enjoyed both tours. Yeah.
yeah. And of course, you were jamming with Brian May as well.
Oh yeah, that was a
That
highlight.
was everybody keep on
I
talking about
love
that.
Brian May, and he's one of the all-time greats for the musicality, the tone, and he is a composer. He plays like a composer. A lot of guitarists just flashy and a little bit empty. Brian May never empty. Every note has a meaning, and it goes straight to the center line. So that's
Yeah.
precious. And that feeling was exactly what happened when we jammed. We had the jam at, I think it was Wembley Arena in '98, and he came up. We did two songs. We did Voodoo Child, Jimi Hendrix, and we did B.B. King, The Thrill Is Gone. And he started jamming on Voodoo Child, and on his AC30, I stood right next to him. I said, yes, carry on playing. I think Michael and got a little upset because they had before they said, okay, you do you do 4 rounds, you do 4 rounds. They wanted it like that. But of course, I can't improvise like that. It's more, to me, improvising is like complete free flow. And it was the same with Brian. He went
That's
over
right.
it. So I think Michael got a little bit upset. He thought maybe he wanted to upstage him, but there was none of that. Brian was just being perfectly musical and in the moment, and I loved it. It was great. It was a highlight.
Good for you. Some year later, in May 2023, you end up forming the Sky Academy, which you were teaching a holistic approach to music, composing lecture, master classes, and like you mentioned before at the beginning, right? That's something that is very, very important to you, and you keep on doing that, you keep on working in that, and in a way bring something to the community, right? To upcoming musician, upcoming guitarists, and so forth, right?
Community is the right word. The community is
Community.
so
Yeah.
important. And yeah, everybody who has something to contribute should contribute. So
Sure.
I'm doing my thing. I have a little bit of the teacher in me. It's kind of inborn. Some people are like that, and I'm one of these people.
Yeah.
If there's somebody who I feel that I've got something that I want to share with them, yeah, I'll do that no matter
Yeah.
what, as long as that person is receptive. So for me, that was a no-brainer, starting Sky Academy. It was an inner necessity almost. Yes, I enjoy that. And I enjoy teaching things that are off the beaten track. So, and my mind is off the beaten track, believe me.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
That's
It,
normal. And sometimes it's interesting and inspirational to get ideas that are not so normal, you know.
absolutely.
Sometimes ideas that are not normal are just basic rubbish or whatever. It can happen. But I think it's always good to look at things from various perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's my thing. I'm looking at things from very unusual perspectives or definitely not mainstream as perspectives. And while I may be missing the odd obvious point, which the mainstream may easily get, I see things they don't see. And together, that maybe makes an interesting picture, you know.
We got it. No, I understand.
So,
Man, you have played with the best of the best and the best venues in the world over the year. Is anyone in particular you wish you have had the opportunity to share a stage or
they're
to play
all
with?
dead. They're all dead. I mean, my dream was to play with Paco Lucia, the
Oh, yeah, in Spain. Yeah,
guitar player. Yeah, it didn't happen. He died way too early. You
yeah,
know, he died way too early. Keith Jarrett, I would have loved to play with Keith Jarrett. He doesn't play anymore.
yeah,
And there are quite a few, but they're all gone. And I'm sure there's amazing talent right now. I know there are amazing people, but I don't really follow it so much. So I don't really know what's going on. Maybe I
yeah.
should It's just not
Well,
possible.
do you have any memories, or I don't know, was a long time ago playing at the Marquee Club back in the day?
Absolutely. I think we played there 3 times.
Yep.
And I remember the first show, it was completely jam-packed. UFO were there, Michael Schenker was there, Gary Moore was there. I think even uh, well, no, I'm not sure now, but anyway, um, we we played there in the fall of 1975, which is exactly 50 years ago. It
Yeah.
was October, following the release of In Trance. And we already had a cult following in England. So we did a quite a long tour all through England. The first gig of that tour was none other than the famous, infamous Cavern Club of the Beatles.
Yeah.
We had
In
played
Liverpool. Yeah.
Liverpool as our first show, which was amazing because both Klaus, Meine, and I were huge Beatles fans. Still
Yeah.
are actually. So that was kind of a moment you don't forget. And the Marquee, yes, also it was special. And then the second time we played there was not much later, and it was always completely jam-packed and wild. And the place was just like a normal rock club. I mean, the backstage was absolutely tiny, and all the bands from Hendrix, Cream, Zeppelin, whatever, they were always in this tiny little backstage, which you entered through the door from the stage. I'll never forget. It was like smaller than a trailer, much smaller. But that
Yeah.
was the Marquee in the middle of Soho, Water Street.
That's right.
I walked by there recently when I went to the National Gallery, and I thought, where was it? And because it's dismantled now, but I found the right spot when I walked past it.
That's
Yeah.
right. Man, I wish they had kept it, as the original
In those
um,
days, in the
unit.
mid 70s, a lot of it was still exactly identical to what it was like in the 60s, you
Yeah.
know. So it was interesting for us to catch the tail end of all that because, of course, we were fans. We grew up with the stuff from the 60s. I mean, we were from the 60s, but we were at the end of the 60s.
That's right.
So
I
yeah, it was a really really nice time, and it was exciting. I mean, I mean, I was 20, 21 or whatever. The others were a little bit older, but we were excitingly exploring the world. We were a German band, the first German band to make it in England and France, etc. It was an exciting time, and I'm very happy that I was privileged to have been there.
Yeah, it does an amazing play. The number of famous bands that have played there, and I go to
Everywhere,
London. I go to London
everywhere.
often, so I have walked through the menu, and there is like a black mural that they have all the names inscribed of the band that have played there. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
yeah,
And of course, they
yeah.
have, I think, at offices now because that's prime real estate, right? So that building goes for a lot of money, I suppose, for people that want to build offices. You're associated with the Sky guitar, which is an absolutely work of art, right? Feel free to elaborate on what it means to you.
Well, the sky guitar is something I designed in the year 1982. At the end of it, and the first one was built in '83, so that's quite a while ago. Um, I played it ever since. Um, it's an idea of a guitar which is based on enabling me to play much higher notes than you can understand that guitar. That was the original idea, like a guitar with 4 wings other than two, say, for instance. and and we built it, and then it went through many stages. I started pushing the envelope with the pickup system, with this, with that. eventually it became a very sophisticated instrument, which can do pretty much anything. And those are the guitars I'm playing, you know. And they're also on the market, but they're not cheap because there's a 2-year waiting list and they're all hand built. So they cost an arm and a leg. But when you have a guitar like that, it's an incredible power tool. You know, it's like a Formula One car with the comfort of a
That's right.
Mercedes.
Wow.
It is.
Yeah, well, very good way to put it. Now you're going to be touring here in the United States, or do you know if you're, of course you may know, but if their shows are going to be recorded all, like
We
create like
are
a CD
always
or a
recording
DVD or
every
something?
show on our multi-track, but you know, there's recording and there's recording. We have the multi-tracks just in case if a magnificent something happens, we've got it on tape. Because in the second half, I tend to improvise a lot,
Yep,
and every night is quite different, even in the first half. So, and these moments of improvisation are, of course, one-offs. And in the past, it has happened that we had shows where you say, oh boy, if we had recorded that, you know, it would have been really special. And then we didn't. That happened a lot in the olden
right.
days. So ever since then, we have the tapes running and they're just there. Video wise, it's more complicated because in order to do a decent video shoot, you need quite a few cameras. You
That's
know,
right. Yeah,
we
yeah.
had a few in Tokyo now, and it looks great, but it's not quite enough for a commercial release. And if you want to do a proper commercial release of a show, then you need a lot of cameras, and it's always a big deal. And sometimes you commit to it. You say, okay, we're recording this show in Chicago or whatever. And sometimes the show's no good. You know, they
That's right. That's right. For
spend
one reason or another, right? Yeah.
tons of thousands, and it ends up in the bin because and I'm the worst because I've done that a lot, where we've recorded something and I said, sorry, it's not really good enough. So it's not in the bin. It's somewhere in our archive, which is very similar. One day when I'm dead and gone, somebody may dig it all up, you know. I tell you one thing that happened recently that took me by surprise. We did shows in Japan in 2019. They were celebrating my 50 years on stage, and we had special guests, Rudolf Schenker from the Scorpions. We had Fel Axe from Bon Jovi, and they were really good shows, and we recorded them. But there were a few things that I knew could have been better. So I walked away from it saying, it's not good enough, and I didn't even watch it anymore. Now my record company made me watch it, and I went to a studio in Hanover for 3 days, started editing it. Lo and behold, the footage is phenomenal, you know.
All
So
right.
I'm going to release it. And there are a few mistakes which I knew about and why I didn't want it, because I like to present a slightly more perfect image. But in the end, the bottom line was the stuff was phenomenal and it needs to be out there. So we're going to release it next year, you know. Forgive my throat. I've done 5 interviews. I have a cold, and I'm now starting to sound like Darth Vader. You know, so
No, I have one more question, 2 more questions, and then finish. I will let you. I will let you relax and of course
no,
take
I
some
don't
tea
mind
and
that. I'm just apologizing. I see my voice is completely going
sure,
now.
sure. No, I
What's
understand.
left of it. So,
So,
maybe
all
that.
right. So, of course, you will start the tour. What is it? October 24th and 26th in Long Beach, California. You're going to be touring in different cities in the United States. Then you come back here and to Maryland in
Yeah,
Rams Head on the stage, and then you will end your tour in like a month
Leesburg.
after, right? So November the 20th at the Tally Hall in Lisbon. So uh, those are great venues, and for all the
Yeah, I'm
people
really looking
that's going to
forward
be
to
listening,
that.
they're
They're very
great,
good
great venues.
venues.
It's going to be a great show, man.
I don't know all the venues. I know some of them,
Yep.
and some of them are new to me, but they're mainly seated venues which I prefer for this type of show. But yeah, let's see. I'm looking forward to it. I always enjoy playing in America,
Of
and
course,
my band, whole band enjoys it too. You know.
yeah. Well, looking forward to seeing you. I want to, as I mentioned before, I'm going to be attending both show, and you're more than happy to come to dinner for after the Leesburg one. We'll pick you up and we'll make arrangement.
All right.
It was very nice talking to you, Uli. Have a great evening. Thank you very
My
much, man.
pleasure, Manuel.
My friend.